Hey guys, I'm back. I'm Samantha and I'm a therapist and I'm creating a video every day for a year. This is video 342. Thanks so much for watching as always. I'm standing at 999 subscribers. I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much. This has been so fun and I hope I've helped all of you in some way throughout this almost year-long journey that I've been experiencing. So thank you for being with me as usual. I just love you all. And I hope that my messages that come straight from my heart are going straight to your heart and helping you in some way, because I know there's a lot of people that are, suffering and struggling right now in many different ways. Everybody's got something going on. What we see in the world when we see people is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot going on underneath that. And so always remember that and give yourself and others grace, because there's a lot going on. And I wanted to talk about challenges and also how not to delay your happiness. And as far as challenges are concerned, it's like we've got to be comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And so if a challenge comes, it's taking you to a different level of consciousness. Like it's leveling you up, in other words. Think of it this way. It's like never label anything as bad or negative. You get to decide how you label it. So how I label things, I might say, oh my gosh, this sucks at first. I acknowledge it and I acknowledge how I'm feeling. Oh, I'm feeling frustrated. And then I remember who I am, who the F I am. You got to remember who the F you are, right? You got to remember your power within you is greater than what you're seeing outside of you. So every challenge is like that stepping stone to get you to the next stepping stone that you couldn't see without that challenge on that stepping stone. So that challenge is going to shape and mold and grow you into the person you're becoming to get to what you're wanting. And you'll notice if you make a concrete decision and a plan, all of a sudden there's going to be something coming from the woodworks that's like, nope, that's not happening right now. You got to do some other things before you get there. That can happen sometimes. It doesn't happen all the time. But I think when you make a really big declaration, like I'm going to become a multimillionaire, or I am going to buy this house, or whatever it is, the big things that you think are big. I don't know. I just can't really think of anything right now, but we'll talk about the money. It's like once you decide these things that this is who you're going to be, and you decide that you can do that, because you can do anything you want. But once you make that internal decision, that fire inside of you creates all the necessary components out in your world to reorganize to where it looks like things are falling apart, but they're really falling into place. So always keep that in mind, that every single challenge has a benefit for you. It does not matter what it looks like. It just does not matter. Everything is growing you. And if you look back, this is what I always do too. Whatever happens that's challenging, I'm like, I wonder what I was thinking before that. And I always notice that, I really didn't like that thing, or I really didn't enjoy it fully. It wasn't aligned with who I truly am. And that's why it falls apart. Isn't that crazy how that works? That's how powerful we are. And so that's how important, or that's why it's so important to be your true self. Just really make sure that you are expressing yourself in the way that you want to. Or ask yourself, am I doing things that I don't really want to be doing? And, what am I saying yes to that I really want to be saying no to? And what am I waiting to do that I'm not doing? If there's something, like I've been telling clients and everybody that'll listen, do something for 5 minutes a day for a week and see how you feel. And then do the same task or whatever you're trying to do for 10 minutes the next week. Work up to 30 minutes. I had clients do this with walking because they wanted to lose weight or get stronger, whatever their goal was. I said, okay, if you've never worked out or you don't know where to start, just walk for 5 minutes a day. Just around your house, just set a timer for 5 minutes. Make things easy for you at first so that you can start challenging yourself later. And sometimes that 5 minutes is challenging to people. So that's why I start small with some people. But I start big. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do 75 hard, just without any planning and without any prior chocolate. That's a little hard. But I decided to do that. 2 days ago. This is day 2 was today. I'm addicted now to my outdoor walk every day. And I do like core exercises and different like lunges and squats while I'm doing it. And I switch it up, but mostly it's just like really fast paced walking, listening to music or motivational type of videos. And it has just made me feel so good to just get out in the sun and do that. But it's not only that, I'm showing up for myself, doing something different in my life. And that's why I find that doing something like 75 Hard or just getting up and moving, doing something different than you normally do to break up the monotony, it's going to change and shape and mold you into the next you and level you up. So something inside of me desired to level up. So here came, I don't know where the idea of 75 Hard came from. I don't even know how I got onto that subject again. Months ago, I wanted to do it. I think years ago, I wanted to do it, never did it. And this time I was like, nope, I'm doing it tomorrow, starting tomorrow. And that's what I did. And so it's already changing me. I can feel it. And so that's what I recommend you do is something that's challenging. You want to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because in the feeling of being uncomfortable, you're stretching yourself. You're really stretching out your mind, and you're going to feel different because you're actually doing something different, and you're challenging yourself to get through that moment, to break out on the other side of that moment where you might have stopped. And when you stop, that's like the breakthrough is right after that moment where you're like, oh, I really need to stop. And then you keep going. That's whenever the breakthrough happens and growth happens. So you never know what's on the other side of a challenge if you just keep at it. And I feel very compelled to say you can do it. You can. You're capable. Because I think a lot of people feel like they are not capable. So I want you to keep telling yourself whatever it is that you're wanting. Say, I'm capable. I can do this. I don't care what it is. I don't care how big it is or small it is. Say, I can do this. I don't care what anybody else has told you outside of yourself. Do not listen to anyone. Your vision for yourself is the only thing that matters. And you're the only one that's going to keep it away from you. Nobody else can take anything away from you unless you believe they can. So you got to know inside, deep inside, that you're capable of doing anything that you want and feeling great while doing it. So that's the other subject I wanted to talk about too, was don't delay your happiness. Feel happy now. Start to shift your internal mental state like we've talked about a lot of times. Create some things with your imagination, scenes, quick little scenes, like you're walking into your dream home. Make this so outlandish, but it's really not outlandish. You can have these things. It's just our belief that we can't overrides the belief that we can. So really think of that through a little bit. That, golly, if I don't have this, I must believe that I can't have it. So you've got to shift that. I can have anything I want. I've just believed for my entire life that I can't. So that's what's overriding. So what if we started to shift that into I can? And so really think about, like I said, some scenes that indicate that you're already that person that already has that. And tell yourself, I've already got it. I've already got it. You've just got to imprint the subconscious mind with this stuff, because you've already been imprinting all this other stuff your whole life. And so you believe those things because you've thought them so much over and over and over that you've created what's called neural pathways in the brain. So they're just kind of fired and wired that way. But we can fire and wire new neurons to create new pathways to go down. And then the old neural pathways will start to basically grow over with weeds. You won't have to worry about those anymore, because you're going to create these new beautiful gardens in your mind that will blossom if you pay attention to those. So it's like watering, which garden do you want to water? Your old self or your new self? And I had somebody comment, and I'm so sorry I haven't written you back yet. I don't know if you'll even see this before, but someone said that it was hard for them to, let go of self number one because of their trauma and like trauma that they've experienced. And so with trauma, we want to definitely process those feelings. Look at all this manifestation stuff as like it's a skill to develop thinking differently. That's just a skill in itself that you can learn. You can learn to think differently. So that's one set of this. That's one side. And then there's this trauma. So this trauma that happened to you, and it's given you a story that you take with you your whole life. Your body feels it. You've got things in your environment that will remind you of things that happened in the past. So your body and brain think it's happening right now, which will cause symptoms of post-traumatic stress, which can turn into a quote disorder if they're not addressed. And so with traumas that happen, there's a timing with that for everybody. I just believe that everybody's soul is, everybody's soul knows what's best for them. So I'm never going to say that, you should just ignore all of your old self. That's not what we're doing. I just want people to know that they can shift into a new self. But shifting into that new self, part of that is dealing with the trauma. That's part of it. That's the stepping stone there. It's like, look at self number one and self number two. Like there's self one is who you are now. Self two is who you're wanting to become. And so that's like the hero's journey. And then there's a bridge in between the two, self one and self two. So then you got this bridge of incidents, right? That happens. So you're walking over this bridge of incidents. One of those little, slats of wood on the bridge could be, I'm going to deal with my trauma. I'm going to process my feelings regarding these things that have happened to me. And I'm going to give myself grace, and I'm going to be gentle with myself. And I'm going to learn to let go of limiting beliefs that were caused because of this. And I'm going to let go of not trusting myself and not trusting others. And I'm going to start creating inner peace and creating love inside myself. And I'm going to learn these skills. And then I'm going to move to the next wooden slat. Like healing is, takes time for some people to do that. I think it's beautiful to work on healing, because healing, again, there is no time. Time isn't an illusion. And technically we already are healed. In another version of us is already healed. But what does healed even mean? I feel like we're just humans and we're having an experience, and we can choose what we focus on in the moment. So whatever we're focused on in the moment is who we are. And so if you say I'm healed right now, technically you are, but we tend to immediately get distracted by our thoughts and our feelings and our emotions and the past. And so then it reactivates in the now. So it's a very, trauma is delicate, man. I mean, I've been through lots of traumas too, sexual trauma, a lot of that. And then my divorce was pretty traumatic for me. And I've had another relationship that has been pretty traumatic as well in many ways. And I had a lot of moving that I did over the years, just deaths in the family, things like that, everybody's got something. I think it's a huge number of people that have been abused, physically, sexually, emotionally, all of the above. Neglected, that's another thing. So with all the trauma, it's like what helped me with that was definitely having, a team of therapists throughout the years, coaches, all kinds of stuff, just really diving into self-help, of course, but also, and psychology, but also learning about manifestation and the laws and how to use my imagination for my betterment versus my detriment, You'll imagine so many things all day long. You're using your imagination. And we just tend to be addicted to the loop that we're on when it comes to trauma. We're addicted to it. So you have to almost look at it like an addiction. We need a group to say, hey, I'm addicted to my old thoughts. Maybe that's going to be what I'm going to do here. Because I am going to create a membership. And I've been, working on, what do I really want to do? What is best to come from my heart for everybody that I could give more of. And so maybe we need to create a group that says, hey, we're addicts. We need to change our, addiction to our old thoughts and our limiting beliefs. It's the limiting beliefs. I think that's the main thing from trauma too that happens is we lose our self-worth and we lose our value. We think that it's lost, and it's not. You're always worthy. and you're always valuable. You always were. It's just whenever something happens to you, you give a meaning to it that is almost like you internalize it. You say, well, because this happened to me, I am this, and that's not true. That's just something that happened to you. And but the issue is that it rewires the brain to go the route of I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. And then that perpetuates itself throughout the years. It never changes because it's just wired in there. We gave it a meaning. Subconsciously, we gave this a meaning. And so there is nothing wrong with you. You're not broken if something has happened to you. And also though, like if something just happened to you and it's fresh, you got to give yourself time to move through the challenge of living daily life again. I've been there. I remember it's so hard to, but this is before I knew about the laws. You know, I could feel that I had magic inside me and strength inside me, but I didn't know the laws just yet when this all happened. And it was very hard to not function, but like function emotionally healthy, I guess would be the word. Like I was always drawn back to the past events. It was hard to move out of that. But also though, we have to remember too with trauma that you're in fight or flight mode. Your nervous system is so out of whack when something happens. It's just firing and firing. And if you never feel safe enough to calm, then it's going to be really hard to change your beliefs. So always remember, you've got to calm yourself so that you can have clarity. That's what we want. We want clarity because when you're calm enough to be able to think more logically than thinking from the emotions of the past, then you're able to kind of see things that you wouldn't have been able to see before. So think of it like that. Like when I am activated about my past and I'm upset about it, I'm looping about it. I'm looping. So it's acknowledging your feelings, validating your feelings, being there for yourself, showing up for yourself, starting to create these rhythms and routines where you're actually feeling safe within yourself because you're showing up for yourself. So you can start to trust yourself. And if you trust yourself, you can start to trust other people. So healing trauma is like totally layered. And remember, I call trauma a life switch. Going to be a little bit like, we'll get away from that word a little bit and we'll call it a life switch. You know, we flipped a switch and something changed. And we can do the same thing on the other side. But you got to give yourself, you know, grace and be gentle and know that you're having a human experience. It's just an experience. And we're so magical that we can heal instantaneously if we want to. But I think we enjoy the journey of things sometimes too. And I think it's beautiful no matter what is going on. But I could go on and on about that, and that'll be another video. And I have 4 minutes left on my card, on my my SD card. So I'm going to wrap this up in just a moment. So remember, do not delay your happiness. Be happy now. I'll have to do another video on that, like on practices that you can do. But remember that on your way to something, the journey on the way is where the happiness is. That's where the fun and enthusiasm and excitement is, and the passion. And then when you get there, it's like, oh, well, there's another there after that. So remember, there is no there there. There is now. Like you're already there right now. So remember, if you're in the now, then that's where your power is. So make it your only job is to focus on right now. And what am I doing with my mind right now? What am I doing with my imagination? Am I imagining from the self number 1? Or am I going to decide who I want to become, which is self number 2? And I'm going to start thinking about, man, that would be so exciting to be this. And what would I think differently than I'm thinking now? What limiting beliefs would I need to let go of? What beliefs are holding me back from the life I want to live? That's a really good question. You got to write these down sometimes to actually see them on paper and like really, really kind of analyze them a little bit and be like, wow, I do actually think that. Because sometimes these core negative beliefs are like really underneath some stuff and they're layered sometimes. So you come up with one belief and then you'll be like, oh man, I didn't know I had these 2 or 3 others underneath it. So it's really fun to just get to know who you are as a human. And remember, you are so magical inside. You have so much power inside. And when you can cultivate and remember first and then cultivate your power, everything shifts outside of you. So I want you to trust in the unseen more than the seen, because the unseen is your manifestation. That's it. And every force around you is multiplying and moving in synchronistic ways to provide you what you're wanting. You just can't see it yet. So trust in the vision more than the 3D. That's the best advice too. Trust in your vision more than the 3D, more than what you see. And know that whatever you want is coming. You just have to relax into it and allow it to come in. So you got to check your nerves. Am I nervous? Am I feeling out of whack? Am I always stressed? Ask yourself, am I stressed? Most people will say, yes, I am stressed most of the day. Are you feeling tension in your body? Yeah, all day. That's where you start. Work on breathing. Work on lowering your shoulders. My shoulders, I'll find they're all the way up here. You got to bring them back down. And you got to take some breaths in and out. And you got to hold your breath sometimes and let it out slowly. You got to practice these things. And if you guys need any suggestions, I've got so many thousands of suggestions, but I got to go. I got 1 more minute. So remember, you're so loved. Thank you so much for watching. Tell yourself you're loved and anybody else that needs to hear it. And remember to appreciate yourself, because what you appreciate appreciates. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.